On the trail of the hidden past. As Dr. Ilara Vox ran her trembling hands over the red sands of Mars, her heart pounded with excitement. As leader of the xenoarchaeology team, she hoped they would find something on their last expedition to this planet. But none of them were prepared for such a big discovery. "Dr. Vox, he's here, come quick," called Zorn, one of the team members. Ilara rushed over to Zorn and gasped at the sight. A massive metal structure was rising out of the sand. Its surface was covered with intricate symbols Ilara had never seen before. This is incredible," Ilara whispered as she touched the metal surface with her fingertips. Lyra and Nexus, the other members of the team, came over. Lyra immediately took out her scanner and began to examine the structure. "This structure is at least 10,000 years old," she said in amazement. "But the energy readings, it's like it's still active." Nexus frowned. "That's impossible. How can a structure that old still be working?" Ilara took a deep breath. "Friends, I think we are on the verge of a great discovery. This is not just an old structure, it could be a base. And if I'm right, this base was placed here long before there were civilizations on Earth." The team began to walk around the structure. Nexus was scanning the walls with the device in his hand. "Dr. Vox, there's something here. I think a doorway." Ilara came excitedly to Nexus. On one part of the wall, there was an almost invisible line. "You're right, but how do we open it?" Lyra stepped forward. "Let me try." She pointed the device at the door and sent a series of complex codes. After a few seconds, the metal wall began to vibrate and slowly opened. Once inside, they found themselves in a huge room. The room looked like it hadn't been used for thousands of years, but it was still in perfect condition, albeit dusty. The walls were covered with strange symbols, as well as intricate diagrams and maps. This is incredible," Zorn said, his eyes wide open. "These maps, these are maps of the galaxy. And these diagrams, it's like they show you how to travel between different star systems." Ilara approached a large console in the center of the room. On the console was a crystal-like structure. "This must be some kind of control panel," she said thoughtfully, "but to understand how it works." Just then, the crystal structure suddenly began to glow. A huge hologram appeared in the center of the room. The hologram showed a human-like being, but much taller and slender. The holographic figure began to speak, its voice echoing in the room. "If you are hearing this message, it means you have finally found us. We are the Guardians from Zeta Reticuli. Millions of years ago, we set up bases across the galaxy to protect and guide young civilizations." Ilara and her team looked at each other in amazement. The hologram continued. "This base was established to monitor the development of life on Earth and intervene when necessary. However, due to a crisis on our home planet, we were forced to return. Now, we entrust our base and our technology to you." The hologram faded and the room fell silent. Ilara took a deep breath. "Friends, I think we have just discovered the greatest secret in galactic history," Nexus said excitedly. "This top technology, it's far beyond our science. If we can understand it, even interstellar travel might be possible." Lyra frowned in concern. "But what if there are those who abuse this power? What happens if this knowledge falls into the wrong hands?" Ilara said firmly, "That's why we need to be very careful. We can't just announce this discovery. We must first study everything here, understand it, and learn how to use it." Zorn nodded. "You're right, Dr. Vox. But we can't keep this information secret forever. Sooner or later, the world must know of this discovery." Ilara took a deep breath. "Yes, but not until we are ready. For now, it will remain our secret." The team began to examine the base in more detail. Each new discovery raised more questions. Who were the Guardians? Why did they care so much about Earth? And most importantly, why hadn't they returned? As the days passed, the team began to unravel the secrets of the base. Lyra was trying to understand the energy system of the base. "This is incredible," she said excitedly one day. "This system draws energy from the planet's core. It's a theoretically infinite source of energy." Nexus was working on the base's communication systems. "I think this device could allow us to communicate faster than the speed of light. Imagine instant communication with someone on the other side of the galaxy." Zorn was studying the base's defense systems. "These weapons, these can protect the planet against any threat. Asteroids, solar storms, even alien invasion." Alara was trying to digest all this information. This technology could take humanity to the stars, but it could also become a terrible weapon in the wrong hands. One night, as Alara worked on the base's main computer, a message appeared on the screen. "Wake up protocol initiated." Alara's heart skipped a beat. What? What wake up protocol? Just then, the walls of the base began to shake. A large compartment opened and out came a giant capsule. Alara immediately called her team. They all gathered around the capsule. The surface of the capsule began to fog up and slowly opened. Out of it came a figure that looked like the being they had seen in the hologram. The being opened its eyes and looked at the team. "Hello," it said in a soft voice. "I am Zeta, the guardian of this base, and it's time for me to wake up." Alara and her team looked at each other in shock. This discovery was just the beginning. Now, the real adventure was beginning. Zeta took a step towards the team. "You are the first intelligent beings to discover this base. This was part of the Guardian's plan. However, I must tell you that there is a great danger in the galaxy, and Earth is at the center of it," Alara asked, gathering courage. "What kind of danger?" Zeta's eyes flashed with concern. "Millions of years ago, the Guardians built these bases not only to protect, but also to escape an enemy. This enemy threatens the entire galaxy, and now it is awakening." Nexus asked curiously, "Who is this enemy?" Zeta took a deep breath. "We call them the Shadow, a being that destroys light and life. And now, it is on its way to Earth." Alara and her team were crushed under the weight of this information. Not only had they made a great discovery, but they had also fallen into a struggle that would change the fate of humanity. Zeta continued, "This base and the others are designed to fight against the Shadow, but we cannot do it alone. We need humanity's help." Alara looked at her team. They all had fear in their eyes, but also determination. "What are we supposed to do?" Alara asked. Zeta moved to the console in the center of the base. "First, we need to activate the other bases. Next, we must prepare humanity for this threat. And most importantly, we must strengthen our defenses before the Shadow arrives." Lyra worriedly asked, "But how will the world governments react? Should we share this information with them?" Zeta nodded. "Yes, but we must be careful. Some may want to misuse this technology. Humanity needs to be united, not divided." Ilara took a deep breath. "This will be the greatest test in human history. But we are ready. We found this base, and we will protect the legacy of the Guardians." Zeta looked at Alara with gratitude. "We built these bases for brave and curious beings like you. Now it is time to shape your destiny." The team gathered in the control room of the base. Before them was a holographic map of the galaxy, showing the Shadow's progress. Time was running out, but there was still hope. Alara looked at her team and Zeta. "So, where do we start?" Zeta marked a series of points on the holographic map. "These points are the locations of the other bases. We need to activate them first. Then, we must inform Earth's leaders." Nexus said excitedly, "With the technology in these bases, maybe we can stop the Shadow." Lyra nodded. "But first we must understand this technology and learn how to use it." Zorn added, "And in doing so, we must be careful not to cause panic. Humanity is not yet ready for alien life, and if they find out we face a galactic threat..." Alara spoke with determination. "You are right, all of you. We must handle this mission with care. but we will succeed. Because we have to. Zeta put a hand on Alara's shoulder. As long as there are courageous beings like you, there is still hope in the galaxy. The team began to work with great determination. They had a difficult task ahead of them, to prepare for the shadow threat, while preparing humanity for this new reality. As Alara looked out of the base window at the red horizon of Mars, she knew that the fate of humanity now lay in the stars, and that destiny was now in their hands. Alara and her team began to turn the base on Mars into a base. Under Zeta's guidance, they set about learning and applying the Guardian's technology. As the days passed quickly, each of them made great progress in their own specialty. Lyra was able to fully decode the base's energy systems. "This is incredible," she said one day, her eyes shining with excitement. "This technology can draw energy not only from the Martian core, but also from other planets in the solar system. Theoretically, we could connect the entire solar system into a single energy network." Nexus continued to work on communication systems. One day, he came bursting out of the lab. "I did it. I was able to communicate with Earth in real time, without any delays." Zorn continued to study the defense systems. "These weapons, they are not just for defense. They are powerful enough to destroy a star if necessary." This information both excited and frightened the team. How would having such great power at its disposal affect humanity? Alara was watching all these developments carefully. While preparing for the shadow threat, she was also thinking about how to share this information with the world. One day, Zeta called them together. "My friends, you have made great progress, but now it is time to act. The shadow is moving faster than we thought." Alara frowned. "How much time do we have?" Zeta opened the holographic map. A dark cloud was fast approaching the solar system, showing the shadow's progress. A year at most, maybe less. The team fell silent at this news. Finally, Nexus spoke. "So, what should we do?" Zeta marked a series of dots on the map. "These are the locations of other Guardian bases on Earth. We need to activate them. We must also inform the leaders of Earth of the situation and prepare them." Lyra asked anxiously, "What if they don't believe us? What if they see us as a threat?" Alara took a deep breath. "We have to take risks. We need it for humanity to survive." The team began preparations to return to Earth. Zeta handed them a small device. "This is the Guardian's communication device. We can always stay in touch with it." Once on Earth, their first order of business was to contact the United Nations. Although they were initially met with skepticism, the evidence they brought with them and the live connection with Zeta were enough to convince the world leaders. However, there was an unexpected development. World governments moved to take control of this technology. Some countries launched covert operations to take this power for themselves. Alara and her team suddenly found themselves in the middle of a global power struggle. While trying to prepare for the shadow threat, they also had to contend with the greed of the world's governments. Realizing the gravity of the situation, Zeta proposed a new plan. "We need to activate other bases on Earth, but we must do it secretly. We need to place a trusted team at each base." Alara nodded. "You are right, but who can we trust?" So the team began a worldwide search for trusted scientists and leaders. A base was activated on each continent, and carefully selected teams were placed in these bases. However, time was running out. The shadow's presence was now visible even to the naked eye. In the sky, a gigantic darkness was approaching, swallowing the stars. The world was in a panic. Some people ran for shelter, others spiraled out of control, thinking they were living their last days. Governments were struggling to keep the situation under control. Alara and her team decided to make one last move. They planned to combine all the bases and create a huge energy shield around the solar system. "It's too risky," Lyra said. "If we fail, our entire energy system could collapse." Nexus shook his head. "But we have no choice. Either we try this, or we watch the shadow swallow us." Alara looked at her team. They all had fear in their eyes, but also determination. "Are you ready?" she asked. They all nodded. Zeta approached the control panel. I'm activating the shield. God help us all. Huge waves of energy began to rise from Earth and other planets. The sky lit up with bright blue and purple colors. All of humanity held its breath and watched this magnificent spectacle. The energy waves coalesced and formed a gigantic shield around the solar system. Just then, the shadow made contact with the shield. A terrible noise was heard. The Earth shook. Everyone was waiting for the outcome of this struggle. Minutes turned into hours. The shield was resisting, but how long could it hold out? Finally, the shadow began to retreat. The shield had succeeded in repelling this terrible force. There were shouts of joy on Earth. Humanity had survived a galactic threat. Alara and her team hugged each other, tired but proud. Zeta looked at them with a smile. This is why we believed in you as guardians. Now, your true journey begins. Alara looked out the window at the stars. Now a new era was beginning for humanity. They were ready to take their place in the galaxy. And who knows, maybe one day they would be the true heirs of the Guardians.